right, so we are going to continue on in chapter 3, part 1. Now we are going to draw our exterior walls. We should already have our grid lines, and we should also already have our columns placed, as well as our non-standard columns and our rotated columns. So I have already created my two layers that it's asking me for. It's a wall and a wall cavity. Remember, you can go to the appendix A in the back of the book, and that will show you your layer color and line type. But I've already made mine. I've got a wall and a wall cavity. And I need to make sure that I have a wall selected. So the first thing it has me doing is drawing these lines that are going to be 8 inches away from the face of the column. So to me, the easiest way to do that is I'm just going to draw a line across the face here. I'm going to offset it 8 inches, and I'm just going to work my way around. So let's see, we're going to start at J. So just grab me a line. And I'm just going to go all the way across. We're going to go all the way to B, I think. And that was not a straight line. Let's try that again. I'm just going to do it like that. Doesn't matter how long it is because I'm going to erase it anyway. So I'm going to choose my offset. I want it to be 8 inches. And there is my 8-inch line. I'll go ahead and delete that one. And we're just going to work our way around. And let's see, this one, we actually do have to work our way around this one right here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my lines. I'm just going to, just like so. And I'm going to offset that 8 inches as well. Okay, I'm going to delete my originals. And then I can actually use my fillet. Close that up. And then we can trim off the middle. There. And let's see, down here at B, we didn't have a column there. Let's see if I have one. Yep, we have one down here. So let's see how far did we go. That one's going to be a little tricky. I'm going to go down to 4. Let's start right there. So that's on the face of my column. I'm going to offset my 8 inches. There. I'll delete my original. And see now, since there wasn't a column to work around here, I can trim off those lines. And let's see, the corner of that is going to be at 4-2. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line so I can make that corner. Actually, I can delete my original line before I trim. And I'm just going to go ahead and go around, and I'll come back and clean those up. This one, I'm just going to go straight down, and that one goes all the way to 2. Once again, we're going to do our offset. And my original. And then I can do another fillet. Work my way around. This one's going to go all the way to here because that's where we're going to start our curved wall. I can also fill it here. That's not the right one. All right, now I'm just going to extend this out kind of arbitrarily for now. And I'm going to go ahead and do the curved wall because y'all can come back and do some of the other side. I don't need to show you that. Y'all can do that. So what we're going to need to do, and this is where it was really important that we had our origin in the correct place. We want to enter, we're going to start a line. And for the first point, we want 0, 0. And our second point, just going to kind of bring it up that way a bit. 152 feet, 3.125, comma, 123 feet, 7.5. Right? So there's my line, and that's going to be a temporary line that I'm using to locate the center point of my circle. So now I'm going to draw a circle right here, and it is going to have a radius of 260 feet 8 inches. Real big. All right, and so once we have that, we can erase our temporary line. And then you are going to trim off between the two vertical wall lines, which I don't have mine over here yet. That would have been a good reason for me to go ahead and do the rest of my lines. That's why it has you do all of your lines first. So, let's see here. I'll start from this corner here, do my offset so that I have both ends so that I can show you properly. Right, so that is going to be my other wall line that is over, I believe, on grid line K in your book. And then I'm just going to trim these off at the wall lines. I'm going to trim off here, and I'm going to trim off here. And then I can delete the rest of the circle. I can use the fillet command and clean up these corners. And you're going to do the same over here. There. Right, and like I said, from there, you're just going to continue on doing the other half of your exterior walls. And then you're going to draw a line upwards here. It's just going to be kind of arbitrary because that's where some of your doors and things are going to be. So, you know what? I'll go ahead and do it. Doesn't matter how long it is. Just fill it. All right. So I'm going to pause right there for you guys to go ahead and finish this. And then we will complete our exterior walls. All right, so we're going to continue on and finish putting in all of our exterior walls. So as you see, I've got all of the 8-inch offset exterior face of those walls. But I forgot to do this in the other video, but make sure you're doing the same thing with these columns up here. Those are all going to also be an offset of 8. All right. So if you look at the top of page 3-26, that's going to show you what your dimensions are for this and what your layers should be. So this is going to be that outside layer that it's showing, a wall. Then we're going to have 2 more lines to the inside, and then we're going to have another one in a little bit further. So let's start doing some offsets. And let's see, the first one I'm going to do is going to be 4 inches. Nope, I don't think that took. Offset 4, and that's going to be to the inside. And actually, it's going to be 4 twice. So I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around. I'm just going to go all the way around. All right, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to kind of clean some things up a little bit. See, those look good. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and change my layers as well, because this layer is going to go on the A-wall cavity layer. Right. Oh, I did these 2. All right, so that's going to be a wall cavity. All right, so that's those, and we can also trim everything up. So use my fillets. And sometimes it's a little hard to see what you're looking at. Oop, I got rid of the wrong line. Okay. There. All right, and you're just going to kind of go around and do all those. Make sure you're cleaning up all your corners. You're going to do the same things around these columns here. So I'll go ahead and do that. Still at 4. As I said, it's going to look exactly the same. And I'm going to leave that one alone because that one's just going to kind of line up on that one. So I'll go ahead and do a match properties, make sure those are on the right layer as well. And keeping them on the right layer helps us see what lines we're working with. Oh, I think I missed one. All right. And so for the last one, we're going to do one more offset, and it is going to be 8 inches from this one here. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to offset this line because it's going to be on the same layer. And when I offset it, that's just going to make my life a little bit easier because I don't have to change the properties of that or the line type. So it has us doing another 8, so it's going to be a total of 16. I'm going to do my offset, 16 inches. And it's going to come in and it's going to be right above that grid line. And it's not going to go through the column. It'll extend to the column, but not through it. And so we come back and do our trimming, extending. Where do I start? There we go. And now this one's going to need to extend. There. And I can just do my fillet over here. There. Oh, I can go ahead and do my fillet up here as well while I'm at it. All right, so that is completing your interior and exterior walls. Or not interior, excuse me, the interior and exterior faces of your exterior walls. So this is just the outline of the building. I'm not going to go through and do every single piece of this because that would take forever. So I'm going to let you all complete the rest of these walls. And then when we come back, we will work on our interior walls. All right, so we should have all of our exterior walls drawn, and they should look something like that. Make sure they're not intersecting our columns. Make sure we've trimmed all that out. Our upper columns up here, they only have this 4-inch wall cavity line. So we should look like so. So now we are going to begin on our interior walls. They are also going to be on the A wall layer. And they are going to be 6 inches. Wants us to zoom into the southeast corner. It looks like we are in this area right here, between 2 and 3, and on this exterior wall. So it tells us that all of the walls either centered on the grid or aligned with the column faces. So the top ones along this number 3 grid line, those appear to be aligned with the top of the column. So I'm going to come in, and this is going to extend all the way to, looks like right here, yeah. Right, so that is one of our walls, and I'm going to go ahead and offset that 6 inches. That's going to be the inside of that. And of course, you need to trim those off. Because your wall is not going through your columns. All right, that one looks good. All right, it looks like we're going to do the same thing down this way. We're just going from column to column here. Go ahead and do my 6-inch offset. There we go. And now, let's see, it doesn't appear to show any kind of interior wall right here, but we do have some partition walls along these grid lines. And so I'm going to draw my line, since of course it is on the right layer. So when I do my offsets, I don't have to change my layers. But I'm going to go back and delete these lines. And this time I'm just going to do an offset of 3, both directions. And then I'm going to delete that template. That's not the right one. There we are. Looking good. Let's see. It also now wants us to add some 8-inch CMU walls. And if you have never heard of a CMU wall, that is a concrete masonry unit, also known as a cinder block. So we've seen those before. So let's see. This is going to be at 4A. So we're going to be kind of right in here somewhere. And let's see, it's going to be the figure 3.42 that is going to be on page 3-30. I'm looking, there's some details they're giving us on the previous page. All right. So let's see, this one's going to give us some dimensions here. So I'm going to be doing some offsets. It looks like all of these are going to be our 8 inches. So where's my top corner? 4.2. Okay, so I'm starting from up here. Let's see, it looks like that dimension, the 12.10.5, looks like it's coming. It's hard to tell, but I think that might be to the outer face. So I'm going to go ahead and do an offset. And that is going to be 12 foot, 10, 1/2. Right, so there's that guy. And I'm going to go ahead, that is to the, I guess, bottom face. And I'm going to go ahead and do my offset of 8 inches so that I don't get confused as to what line that I'm working with. Offset 8. Go. And let's see, we're going to do another offset from this bottom line. And that is going to be 21.8. 8 inches. There. And that one is also to the bottom, so I'm going to offset that upward the 8 inches. Okay, so those are my two walls that are horizontal. So now I'm going to kind of work on my vertical walls that are going to be a little trickier, I suppose. So let's see here. It looks like you're going to have 2'2" from the outside edge to the inside edge. So I'm going to do an offset. And let's see, I'm debating whether I want to draw a line. Nope, I'm just going to go with it. And that's going to be 2'2" to the inside, which is going to be a little weird. You can see in the detail drawing in the small box on page 330 exactly what that's looking like. There is a little wall cavity inside there. So let's see. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the outer edge. So I can go ahead and trim that stuff off. So we're doing offset. And that's going to be 9'4". And that is from this inside edge. There we go. Let's go ahead and offset it that 8 inches. It's going to be to the inside. And then go ahead and trim some of this off. The same down here. I'm going to delete those momentarily.
Right, so I can delete the excess. Make sure I've cleaned all that up. All right. And I do have some other work I've got to do kind of up here and over here, just some little details. So let's see. It's hard to tell exactly what that's pointing to, but I'm going to now do an offset of 8 inches back that way. It should be right inside there. Perfect. And that's that little weird, there's like a weird little gap in there. All right, so let's see how we're going to trim this off. All right, looks like that one's trimmed off as well. That's the one I wanted to trim. And you may, I sometimes need as well, magnifying glass. There. All right, and it says that these two inside lines here are going to be on the A-wall cavity. And got one more trim up here. And we're going to trim that right there. All right, so moving on along, we've got that guy. Just double checking myself. All right. Let's see here. All right, and I think what we can do from here is work on a few of these yourself, and we will come back shortly. All right, so picking up where we left off, we stopped right about here where we finished these 8-inch walls. So now we're going to continue on and do some interior walls here. Those are going to be your 6-inch walls. So I'm going to start down at the bottom because this wall is going to be flush with the outside of the 8-inch wall. And I'm actually just going to do an extend so that I can keep it all one line. And then I'm going to do my offset of 6 inches. All right, and I already have my 6 inches entered. And then I can go ahead and trim this off. Ooh, there's a little guy over there. All right, and then the walls are going to be centered on this column. And I'm going to draw just a construction line. Let's see, here we go. And that just helps me. I don't like offsetting the grid lines because they're so long and then having to trim them off, delete them, whatever things. You can end up with some stray lines. And to me, this just eliminates that entire problem. So since this is a 6-inch wall, I'm going to offset 3 inches in each direction. Go, and I can just trim these off. I can delete the one in the middle. And then I can fix my corners down here. I can use the fillet command for that. There. All right, so that one easy peasy. And one thing I do want to note, you do not have to trim off this intersection here because it is an intersection of two different walls. They're made up completely differently. And there's actually, if you want to see a detail of what that would look like, there is on page 332, just a picture or detail showing you how that would look. All right, so we're going to move on to number 6, which are going to be 6-inch stud walls again. The picture and the dimensions are actually on the next page. We want to know that all of the walls that are not dimensioned are going to be flush with the adjacent columns. Trim the intersections of the walls, and we're going to make kind of a fake column at the end of one of the walls. And we're still kind of in this area over here. I've still got this corner, and I am, let's see, what's the best way to go about this? I'm going to draw some, they're not going to necessarily be dummy lines, but they're not exactly what we need yet. Let's see, how far is this going to go? It's going to go all the way to E. Where's E? All right, we're going to go all the way this way. It's definitely too long, but that's okay. And I can go ahead and do my 6-inch offset. And we will, actually no, we're not going to have to trim that off because we're going to end up getting rid of that little gap there anyway. And let's see, the walls here, it says it's a 5.5 foot gap. So that's going to be from this interface to the other interface over here. So we're going to do our offset, 5'6". There we go. And that was to the inside face, so I'm going to need another offset to the left. Oh, that did 5.5, not 6 inches. Let's try that again. There we go. That's better. And then we have our 3-foot offset going up this way for this little piece of wall there. That looks like it is going to be from this line to the very outside of that wall. So let's do our offset. This is going to be 3 feet. Like I said, that's the inside wall here to the outside wall. And I'm not going to trim this yet because it's going to line up. There's another little one of these guys down here. So we're going to leave that line there, and that will help us. That's a line we don't have to offset later. All right, so once again, 6-inch wall. There we go. And then I can go ahead and trim some of this. Like I said, don't trim this line yet. There. All right, and so now we're going to have another over here, but it is going to align. Actually, it just gives us a dimension on that one. So let's see, it's going to be from this grid line here. And draw my construction line. And it's going to be 11.5 feet. There. And get rid of my other line. And that is to the inside face. So I'm going to do my 6-inch offset to the left. And then I can extend that all the way down to this wall. Here. And then I'm going to do my offsets back this way. And actually, as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and trim this so we don't get confused. Go. And like I said, that 5'6" is to the inner faces. Offset 5.5. And then I'm going to do my other offset of 6 inches. All right, and let's see, I do have to actually extend those lines down so that I can trim. Now I can get rid of all this excess. there. And I'm going to leave this one alone because that is going to be a wall that's going to extend, I believe, all the way up to here. So we're just going to leave that there for now. Clean up my corners. Use trim or fillet, really doesn't matter. All right, so we have those pieces. And now I'm just going to extend this all the way up. Actually, I'm not going to do that yet, as a matter of fact. I'm going to go ahead and draw my line up here. You know what? Never mind. Let's go ahead and extend it. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. Let's see. My ortho might make my life a little easier. There. I'm just going to go all the way across, and do note that it is not flush with this column. It is only flush with this one. See? Go ahead and do my 6-inch offset and trim my lines. And actually I will have to extend, or actually I can just use a fillet. Let's do that. I'll fillet that corner. All right. Now we have a little bit more to do down here. So I have this little fake column, if you will, and I'm just going to draw a line up so that I know where it's going to stop. Yeah, that's fine. And let's see, it's going to be flush here. And then we know that our column is an 18-inch column. And then, let's see, I do need to draw another wall. It's going to be flush with this column. Like I said, I don't like, because snaps get kind of weird. There we go. It actually did what I wanted it to. How about that? Do my 6-inch offset. There. I can just delete that line and trim off some of these others. There. And now we have a little bit more to do up here, and it's a little hard to see, but these are going to be a double wall, and they're going to end over here, and they're going to be flush with the columns. Oh, I don't know why that did that, but we'll go with it. Right, and now it's a double wall, so we're going to do our 6-inch offset for both. Trim up our lines. I think we have some over here, yes. All right, that's looking good there. And it did not specify that these needed to be a wall cavity like it was over here. So I'm going to leave it as it is because it has not specified otherwise. So I believe, and just kind of double check your grid lines, things like that. Just make sure you've got all your walls because sometimes it is easy to get lost in those. And so I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to let y'all do number 7 on page 334 on your own, which is going to be CMU walls, 8-inch, and those are going to be your elevator walls, and they are going to be up here. And when we come back, we'll move on to number 8. All right, where we left off on number 7 on page 334. So I've already completed that. You should have done that one on your own. It's going to be the elevator shaft here. And once we put the elevator in there, things may change, but we'll get there when we get there. So moving on to number 8, this is on page 335. And once again, 6-inch stud walls. The ones that are not dimensioned are flush to the columns. Except, let's see. Okay, that one's just going to go through the column. Got it. And then we just need to add the wall centered on line C. All right, let's get rolling. So, where am I at? Did I miss a double wall? No. Okay, there's a double wall that we've got to make now, apparently. I would have thought that it had us do that earlier. Oh, and I missed some little guys right there. All right, so let's see. Let's see, let it track me over. Yep, there we go. And I'm just going to draw that over. And once again, 6-inch offset. Let's trim that guy off. There. All right, and so now I'm going to start working with what's happening over. Yeah, we'll start on that side. What's happening in this little quadrant right here. So it tells me from this side of the wall up to that first wall is going to be 9 feet. So I'm going to do my offset, 9 feet. There we go. And that is going to be the bottom side of the wall. So I'm going to do my 6 inches upward. And let's see, it's not going to give us a whole lot of information about the rest of this down here. But I do know that once again, anything that doesn't have a dimension is going to be flush. And this, I'm just going to extend it up this way because that wall does go further. I'm not sure how much at this exact moment, but we can get to there when we get to there. All right. And actually, I can go ahead and do my 6-inch offset there as well to the outside. And does it actually? Okay, it does. It gives me from inside face to inside face is going to be 16.5 feet. So we're doing a lot of offsetting. That's from inside to inside. Go. And another 6-inch offset to the left. Extend these, make sure they touch. I can trim off this over here. And I can go ahead and put the little wall in the middle. Oh, actually, I'm going to trim this first because that might mess things up a little bit. And instead of having to do math, because it does say that these are just going to be equal, it doesn't give us an actual dimension, I am going to use my snaps. And there's my center. Bring it down. And then I can just do my 3-inch offset in either direction. Go, and I can delete the center. Okay, so I've got that bottom part done. Now the top part's going to be a little trickier. I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to come over to the other side because that's going to help me determine, well, debating. I suppose we don't have to. We can keep it going over here. Okay, so one wall looks like it's going to be adjacent to the outside of this column. I'm just going to draw it all the way across and trim it later. Ooh, why do I have a gap there? right? And that wall actually does not extend all the way up there, but we'll trim it later. And let's see, that is our 6-inch wall. And that one's going upwards. Leave it there for now. And actually, that center line that I drew a minute ago, I can use that again. And that's going to help me center that little opening at the top here. All right, so we know it's going to be 4, so I can just offset this line. I can shorten it too. I'm just going to offset that by 2 feet in either direction since it's a total of 4. Right, and that was from inside face to inside face, so I can offset 6 inches outward. I think I can get rid of this one now. I can trim off the tops. And I'm debating on whether I want to go ahead and trim that off. Nah, we can do it in a minute. So now we have our 3-foot dimension down to our sloped wall. So once again, we're going to use our offsets, and that is 3 feet. That was from the top face. And that's going to give me my bottom corner of that angled line. I'll go ahead and do a little bit of trimming so that I can see what I've got going on. And let's see, I can trim that off too. And actually I can trim that off too. All right, so now we need a 120-degree line. And it doesn't tell us where that line starts over here. So what I can do, and you can do it however you want, I tend to draw things kind of out in space, and then I move them to the appropriate place. You could come up here and do the same thing, but you're going to have to do a little bit of angle math. Nope, that's not going to be it. So, and what you can also do is you can set your snaps or your snap increments to 30, 60, 90, 120, and those are actually the increments that you want for this. So I'm just going to draw this out in space. Actually, it's not giving me an angle. Well, that is special. Normally, they'll let us have an angle there. No? Right, there we go. And that's actually, if we remember that this is going to be 0, and we want this to be at 120, so we're actually going to be at 30 here. So if you think if it was a straight line, you've got there, that's going to be 180. So your 120 is going to be sitting at 30 degrees. I'm just going to make it arbitrary length. Then I'm going to move it. And that is going to attach to this inner corner. And I'm going to do my 6-inch offset. There we go. I can do some trimming. Oh, I didn't need to trim that one yet. I'll stop it right there. Let me re-extend that one. There we go. All right, and this line is eventually going to go away. And actually I'm going to trim it just for our purposes here, because we're going to work smarter, not harder, and we're just going to mirror this to the other side. We're going to choose mirror. We want to select what we're going to mirror. Then we want a mirror line, so I'm just going to find that center point and go directly up. Boom. Oh no, I wasn't supposed to delete it though. So make sure when you do a mirror, it's going to ask you at the bottom if you want to erase the source object. You've got to say yes or no. In our case, we definitely want that to be a no. And now we can come clean it up. And we can delete that middle line there. All right, so moving on along. I'm going to draw a line right here, just kind of a construction line. I can end up using it, not totally a construction line, but for our purposes right now. I'm going to do an extend all the way over. Go ahead and trim that piece off, since we know that that is going to be flush there. So it looks like our next little piece of wall is going to be from this outside face to the other outside face, and those are going to be 2 feet. Okay, like I said, that was to the outside. So I need to go ahead and do my 6-inch offset back inward. All right, and I do need to trim that off. It'll be ugly no matter how I do it. All right, we can move on. This line here is going to also be offset by 6. There we go. And then we're going to have one more set of walls down here. And that is going to be from this bottom face to the top face of the other wall. So 1 foot. And then we're going to offset that our 6 inches again. There. Right, one more little bit. We need to make from this wall to the other little wall over here. That's going to be 8 feet. And actually, I'm going to trim some stuff so that we don't have a ton of lines. So let's see. Looks like we're going to have a little gap here. Yeah, that helps. That helps. All right, so we're going to offset 8 feet. And let's see, let me double check where my dimension placement is. That's going to be from this outside to there. And now I need to do my 6 inches before I forget. There. That's actually going to extend down. All right, now we can trim everything off. And let's see, we're going to come around, don't need those. And once again, we're not going to trim this off because we're joining 2 different kinds of walls. I'm going to delete these lines. And let's take a look. Oh, got a few more trims to do over here. Oh, apparently that line does not touch. There we are. Make sure I didn't, oh, I missed those 2. Oh, apparently that one didn't touch either. Oh, but when you undo, it'll undo what you already did too. check that one. There, that's better. There's one. So yeah, just double check that you're not missing any walls that you needed to trim. All right, once again, that one's not trimmed as well because it is two different types of walls. All right, let's see, where are we going now? All right, so we got number 9, and that one I think I'm going to leave you all to do. Just make a note. This is going to be the one, number 9, on page 336. These are going to be 8-inch CMU walls. And do note that at the very top of the wall, it has that little airspace gap, and then it's going to have it on the side as well. So just be sure not to forget that part. All right, when we last left off, I had you all creating your own number 9, which is this little bit right here. And once again, make sure that you had this wall cavity in there as well. And let's see where we're going to go from here. All right, so we're looking at number 10 on 337. And this is right down here. We are going to create a roll-up door, loading dock. So it's going to be inset just a little bit here. And there are a bunch of different ways you can do this. This is the way I'm going to do it. Let's see, it has, I'm going to draw just a construction line here. Actually, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. We can't go about it that way. So we are going to have to draw some more walls. And let's see, that's going to come all the way out here. Do I have my ortho on? I do not. So that is going to align. Come on. Not tracking today. Oh well, it'll be okay. I'm just going to draw a line out this way. These are going to be the interior of the wall. Just these guys, but I'm just making a corner. All right, so we said the insides. Full dimension. I don't remember exactly what that dimension was. There to there. It's 4 inches. And then I think here to here is also 4, wasn't it? Yep, okay. Just had to remember. All right, so I'm going to offset 4 twice. And then I'm going to extend it out to the outer edge. Because that's going to be our corner. And then it has, let's see, the gap between this wall and the other is going to be 19 foot 3 inches. So I'm going to do an offset 19, 3. So that's from the inner right up there. Perfect. All right, so now I can actually go ahead and trim off all of this. Even though I am going to ultimately draw a new line as well. And let's see, yep, I'm going to need that line because I need a dimension. And this is actually on a different, oh no, I deleted too much. Apparently my lines didn't touch. Beware. All right, I'm not sure why it did that. Let's try that again. There we go. That's better. We do need that line in there. And this, I've already created the layer for it, but it wants one called A Floor Level, and it is going to be number 1 red and continuous. So I'm going to go ahead and change that line. There we go. And then I can go ahead and do my offsets here, which actually should be right there. All right, so I have my lines. I'll come back and clean those up once I get my inside walls. And let's see, from the edge of the loading dock to the outside wall is going to be 4 feet. Do an offset of 4 feet. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and change this back to the wall layer. There we go. And I'm actually going to go ahead and change these as well so I can keep track of what's happening. And I can actually trim this off as well. I feel like I'm missing something. All right. Oh, there's a wall down here. That's what's kind of throwing me off. That's the problem. We are going to extend this line all the way over, and then we're going to offset it by 6. Trim those off and make those are going to be, that's a gray line. I'm going to have to extend some lines before I can trim that off. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and do my wall cavities here. Those are going to be my 4-inch offsets. And those are also, those two are going to be on our cavity layer. All right, I can start trimming now because I can kind of see what's happening. Right, and then I'm going to just use some fillets. Go. And another one here. There. All right. I can come looking up here. So this is going to be exterior wall. It's going to come to here, so I'm going to go ahead and trim that. And this is going to become a wall cavity. And this is a point where I start struggling to kind of see some things too. And that one's going to come over as well. I'm pretty sure I can delete that line. Yes. There we go. That's looking better. There. All right, so we're going to have some corners going on here. Got that one. I need to make that a corner. And this a corner. Actually, I am not. I am not going to do that because then I'm going to lose the rest of my line. see. There's my split command. Never mind, I'll just draw a new line. Because this one is going to change layers. There. And I've got these corners down here. Now I need to offset this. I believe that is an 8-inch wall. I'm going to go ahead and change its layer as well. And now I can make this line. And let's see, this is going, let's make our layers. Okay. I think that's good there. Come up this way and clean everything up here. All right. That one was a little tricky, but I think we got it. And let's see what we have coming up next. Let's see, we're only a few minutes in. We can go ahead and do this one together as well. All right, so we are, where are we at? I think we're going to be down here in this little block. Let's see, between 3 and 4 and L and K. We're going to be right here. And let's see. Does it have us any? Nope, it doesn't really give us any parameters or anything. Just a few dimensions. So let's start our offsetting. So it looks like from the bottom here, I'm going to work my way up. I have 10 foot 2 inches. That's going to be from the outer wall coming up. And that's going to be a 6-inch wall. But then it shows us from outside wall to outside wall is going to be 1 foot 7. And then I'm going to do a 6-inch back toward the inside. There. And I am going to go ahead and trim these off just because it's bothering me. So there are those walls. And we have another set up here that are going to go from this wall to the inner wall up, and that's going to be 8 foot 10. Make sure I'm using the right tick mark. There we go. And then let's go ahead and do our 6-inch upward. All right, so far so good. It has a line that is adjacent to this column. It goes all the way to the next column. We are going to put a break in there, but that's okay. Go ahead and extend these lines. And these do not. I'm going to leave those alone. Oh, and I can go ahead and do my 6-inch offset. Right there. There we go. All right, let's see. Where's the best place to go now? And I guess we're assuming that 7-4 is going to be centered on these two walls because it doesn't really tell us. It just tells us how wide the gap is. Okie dokie. So I'm going to go ahead and do this 5-foot offset first. And that is going to be from this face to the outer face. And it's going to be our 6-inch offset inward that way. All right, so trying to figure out the best way to go about this. So I'm going to go ahead and trim those. And I can actually, nope, I'm not going to trim that one yet. I'm going to use that to make my center line for my 7'4" gap. All right, so let's see. What is half of that? 3/6, 3/8. I'll offset that 3'8" in both directions. And those are to the insides of the walls. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that so I don't mess myself up. 6-inch upward and downward. Trim off. Yeah, be careful not to trim your grid lines. All right. All right, let's neaten up our corners. And it actually appears that we're not going to trim these because they're joining with a different type of wall. So let's make sure I have all my walls up over. Da, da. Oh, this one does get trimmed though. Yeah, those look good. So that is going to be number 11. And I am, let's look ahead a little bit. I am going to have you all do number 12 and number 13 on your own. That is going to be on page 340 and 341. And then we'll take a look at them when we come back. All right, so we left off where we completed this section on our own. That was on page 341. We're going to move on to page 342. This is number 14. And we're going to draw some more walls that are right down here. These are also going to be 6-inch stud walls. And it gives us pretty much all the dimensions that we need. So I'm just going to start working from here, working my way down. So it shows that the wall that's down here is going to be 6 foot. So I'm going to do an offset of 6 foot downward. And that is from outside, or the this face to the outside face here. So we're going to do our 6-inch offset. And that's going to be downward. So we have that wall. We know that it is going to align with this wall. So I am going to go ahead and just draw a line. I am going to trim this. There, I'm going to just draw it kind of arbitrarily down that way, just so that we know that we have everything aligned. And this is going to be a different line type, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that for now, or trim it off for now. Do another 6-inch offset here. All right, so I don't know any more of those dimensions yet. So I'm going to kind of come over to this side. Let me see what grid line I'm on. So we're working off of grid line 4. Make sure I'm on the right one. That's it. And it shows, let's see, what's the best place to start here? I'm going to start with this box that's down toward the lower right. And actually, let me see, where is, and draw this between G and H. Where's G and H? Okay. I'm going to draw my little construction line like I always do. All right, maybe, did that make a straight line? I'm not sure. It did. Okay. So it has us putting the outside of that wall at 4'9" 3/8. So I'm going to do my offset, 4'9" 3/8. And that's going to be downward. And let's see, and it has us just aligning that once again to this wall up here. Actually, what I'm going to do first, let's work smarter, not harder. I'm going to go ahead and offset that whole room. So I'm going to do my 6 inches. And then got 10 foot from outside to outside. 10 foot. Make sure you're choosing this outer line, or upper line, I guess. And then our 6 is going to be inward, like so. Right? It does tell me once again that that line, or that room, is going to be aligned to the end of that wall. So that's going to allow me to go ahead and trim off all this extra stuff. And I'm also going to trim this line like I did before, because I'm going to have to get rid of it anyway. Go ahead and do my 6 inch. Trim off that bottom. All right. And then it says I'm going to have to do another column offset. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that construction line. And see, there's a column there. Make sure I'm on the right line. It's going to have us do another offset here. I'm going to just do my, where do I want to put that? I can put it down here. My construction line, just so I can see it. And it looks like it's going to be 7'9" to the outside of this room. So offset, 7'9". There we go, and that's going to be the outer wall. So let's extend that over. Let's make this a little bit longer so that I can extend the other lines. And then I'm going to offset that inward 6 inches. And trim some of that off. There we go. So there's that. And let's see, we're going to have another one down here. I'm just going to go ahead and draw another arbitrary line, since we know that that part of that wall is going to be aligned. Then now I can actually go ahead and extend those down as well. All right, let's see. And I guess I can actually do this as well and just trim it off later. So now between this wall and the next wall is going to be 6 feet. So I'm going to offset 6 feet. That is going to be from this edge to the next face here. And that's going to be our 6 inches. I'm going ahead and putting that on there so I don't get lost in which side of the wall that is. And then it has, looks like from this side of the wall to the outer is going to be 3 feet. So let's do another offset of 3 feet. It's going to be from this wall to the outside wall. And trim that off. Oh no, didn't mean to trim all that. I can leave that for now. All right, and so that gave us to the upper wall, so I'm going to do my 6 inches downward. Trim off this stuff in the middle. And that's going to continue upward, so I'm going to leave, actually that's going to go all the way up to here. So we can do some extending. There. Let's see, does it give us that dimension? It does tell me that there's a wall right here. So we can go ahead and put that guy in there. Oh, that one did not give me a straight line. Do my 6 inches. I'll go ahead and start cleaning up some of these corners. All right, and clean this up a little bit too. All right. I'm trying to figure out where it tells us the dimension of this wall here. Oh wait, no. I'm thinking too hard. It's aligned to the column. Do our 6 inches. Trim off our edges or our intersections. Oh, that one apparently did not go all the way up. Oh, it took me all the way out. That's okay. I got a lot of trimming up here that I missed. I'm just gonna have to extend that line back out. Okay, apparently those just did not touch at all. Nope, too much. There. That's better, and it does. There is one more wall that aligns right here that it's real easy to miss. Or do our 6 inch offset. Perfect. And trim off that intersection. All right. Oh, I missed one. Right, so the next thing it has us do is we need to divide this room into 3 separate little rooms. So first thing we're going to do, and it doesn't matter where you do this, we're going to draw a line all the way across, and it's going to end to the outside wall. Make sure it actually hit there. There we go. And then we're going to use the divide command. Div divide. And then you're going to select the object that you want to divide, and then it asks you the number of segments that you want, and we want 3 segments. And enter. So now, it should have given me some points in there, and I don't think it did. Oh, yeah, it did. So once I deleted that line, you can see, and it's very hard to see them, these 2 little tiny dots right there. We're going to use those to make our new walls. There's going to be some walls there dividing up this room. So I'm just going to take a line, use my node snap. I'm going to go straight up with it. go. I'm going to extend it down. I'm going to end up trimming that in a minute. Offset my 6 inches. There we go. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Make sure I'm not snapping over to that. There we go. Do our offset of 6. Trim up my intersections. There. All right, and you can double check your thicknesses there, make sure they're all the same. Just to double check. So that would be, this is what is on page 342, 43, and 44. I am going to stop this video and allow you all to complete the last one that is on page 345, number 17. It is going to be 6-inch walls, and it's going to be a slightly angled wall, and one of them is actually a rounded wall. So be mindful of that. You all can do it. And then when we come back, we will start adding doors and windows.